into what happened to the small village of people that lived here, the Seneca village. The thing is that they dug up from the bottom up, so it's hard to find any remains of, say, like wells and things like that. So we've taken more of an interest in that. There's nothing left from British or Dutch colonial times. Everything was burnt or torn down.
Sure.
In the outer boroughs, though, you do find some Dutch colonial homes. In fact, where I live in Brooklyn, I live close to one in an old Dutch cemetery.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of exciting. We're on 86th Street, so we're going to go up to 106th Street. Another little interesting thing about the park, think of how well planned and kind of how these guys thought of everything. The old gas lamp posts inside, run by electricity today, have a numbering system. And the last digits will refer to the closest street. So all the lampposts around here will end in 86. So if you're in the park and you get lost, you look at the lamppost and say, I'm close to 86th Street. Yeah. There's all these little clues. Bike riding is important. Horse and buggy rides, you can rent a bike or bring your own bike if you're an outdoorsy person. Forsythia butchers and cherry blossoms is the first thing to bloom. To see people just enjoying the park today.
You're allergic, aren't you? To the yellow? Huh? To the yellow plants, aren't you?
Yeah,
allergic? Yellow plants. Yeah. You're allergic, yes.
They have yellow and purple. Manhattan deals with a lot of the Gangland history in New York is in the lower part of Manhattan and where it's Chinatown today.
Oh, that's the 5 corner. Oh, okay.
5 Points, which is today 4 Points, Front Street.
Oh, okay.
1 Point is not there anymore.
Oh, okay.
Take the lower, the downtown tour. Hopefully the tour guide will speak heavily on the lower east side. Oh no, that's the part that I like.
Yeah.
Little Italy, the 5 Points, that whole area there. It's part of the history, and it's, I guess, kind of exciting. Notice that New Yorkers are pet friendly. Here's something that perhaps this gentleman might not know, or that people in general might not know. Do you know that in New York City you can actually rent a pet?
What?
You know that, right? Yeah.
Seen it.
In England too?
No, I've seen it.
Have you seen it?
Documentary about it.
Oh yes. Why would people do that? Well, you know, a lot of people just like to show off. It's always been a thing about being seen. Look at me, and you know, you don't want the responsibility. So you rent the pet for a while, then return it.
Yeah.
It's like living together without being married.
That's it. That's a good way of looking at it, yeah.
Just in case it doesn't work out.
Just in case it doesn't work out. But you got all these odd things here in New York. Rent a pet was when that came out. I says, oh no, now they're going too far.
A rent a child?
Again, wouldn't surprise me. So a lot of times you'll see one person walking many dogs.
Yeah.
That's actually a good job for like college students or something.
Yeah.
It's a way of making extra dog walkers, yeah. Take advantage of the park. It's free. It's a lovely day.
Whoa, look at water.
Is,
wait, that's...
if you've ever heard of the Easter Parade, it's not an actual parade. It's just people coming out with crazy hats. And you'll kind of along 5th Avenue in Central Park is where you'll see most of that. Some outlandish hats. It's fun. And it's going to be a nice day in the 70s. So you're going to have your want a camera handy. And yes, miss. I will let you know. The city of New York. We still got a while to go. The Jewish Museum is a little further down, yes. I will let you know, ma'am. Yes, thank you for asking. It's on the other side of the park. We got to get through Harlem first. Yeah, if you're not sure, just ask me. But certainly, that's part of my job is to get you to where you're going.
What is this building up here?
Crenshaw Church. It was originally in California, then it moved here.
Oh. My mom's from California.
Oh, okay. And it's like probably the most I can tell you. I do have my tour guide book if you want more detailed information. There's so many churches in New York, and I kind of touch on the highlights of like the Cathedral of St. John the Divine and Riverside Church, which will be passing by shortly.
Yeah, I've driven by Christian Center in LA.
Oh, have you? Okay.
So now I've been to LA and New York.
I've never been to the great state of California.
Oh.
I don't travel much, not for any other reason. It's just, I don't know. You save the money, and before you go anywhere, it says, I'll do that next year. And next year,
Next year doesn't come.
Next year doesn't come. And, well, you know, I live in New York City, and the job that I do allows me to meet people from around the country and around the world.
Oh,
so
sure.
I get, you know, second best to it.
Yeah.
It's quite all right. I've gone up and down the East Coast.
Oh.
Because I kind of like U.S. history.
Kind of like people from the West Coast.
Yeah.
You know, we travel mostly up and down the West Coast.
Yeah.
I've been to Savannah and Charleston and Colonial Williamsburg and Washington, D.C., just all the way down to the West, up to Boston, and back and forth and back and forth. I can't get enough of it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful. This weeping willow type tree, it's going to bloom more. It creates this great big shade. I love this tree.
Oh, yeah.
And this lake is designed for picnicking.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah. Oh, someone has a loud dog. Oh, there.
An interesting building coming up. It'll be coming up to your left at 106th Street. It is completely round and cylindrical, and there is a reason for that. It is the first cancer research institute built by the Astor family, very wealthy American family. And they pumped money into it because one of the members of their family was suffering from cancer. Now, back in the 1880s, of course, they used the knowledge and the know-how that they had up to then. And at that time, they believed that germs and bacteria would, of course, thrive and build up in corners. So therefore, to combat this, they built a building with no corners. That's the reason for its round, cylindrical shape.
Wow.
It sounds silly today, but again, they were using the knowledge that they had up to then. Babe Ruth, famous American baseball player, was a patient here. He lived up in this neighborhood, and he passed away from throat cancer.
Yeah.
It was a senior citizens home and an AIDS hospice for a short while, and in the 1990s, it was converted into expensive condominiums, anywhere from $2 to $6 million. To live in here today, and it is this building that looks somewhat like a church, but that is the reason for its shape. This street is named after Duke Ellington, who lived right here at 106th Street. I don't know if the building where he lives still exists, because you see some newer structures, but certainly on this street, or it wouldn't be named for him. So, an interesting building. Sloan Kettering is born as a direct result of this being here first.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that's, you know. And notice the lovely homes here to the left and down these streets. This is where you still find some private homes. There are certain areas of Manhattan with these old brownstone homes, which is kind of based in iron ore that gives it that color, and brick homes. And some are private, others are converted into apartments. It costs a lot of money to own one of these homes, and your only outdoor space is a little space in the backyard. Rarely would you see an area with a little space in the front. As you move away from the park, it becomes less expensive because it is access or view of the park that becomes more costly. So you go from these $1 million condominiums to a middle-class neighborhood just one avenue away.
Oh.
It's pretty interesting. People live side by side because they have to. You don't have a choice. If you wish to live on the island of Manhattan, that's it. Now you have over 150 ethnic neighborhoods in the 5 boroughs, catering to the needs of newer immigrants, or people that just simply don't speak the language or haven't assimilated, and they serve a purpose. But the greater majority of New Yorkers live in neighborhoods like this, well integrated. So you have churches, in this case a Pentecostal church in Spanish, or Korean or French, or stores, you know, pizzerias and bodegas, which are corner mom and pop stores, and Chinese laundromats, all within one little neighborhood. And there's, of course, greater tolerance because of the mixture of people living side by side. And again, you'll see, just from the apartment buildings, that it's not middle-class income people can afford to live here. Located right on Manhattan, easy access to subways and buses. But again, it's space. A studio goes for like $2,000 in this area.
Wow.
So that's what you're talking about.
A month.
A month. Yeah. Yeah, that's